Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experiences and memories that playing games with friends and families can create. As our episodes have been getting longer, and the time it takes to edit has increased significantly, we have decided to start creating some mini-episodes to fill the gaps between episode releases. On this first mini-episode, we'll get increasingly heated as we talk about various board game-related gripes and grievances.
I could show you my newest acquisition. Huh?
Oh, you did a post about that too. You got your priority game.
I got my priority game. Not quite what I expected. We're struggling with it because there's been rule updates since the publication. It's called The Pirate Republic. It was kickstarted previously this year. I found it in my digging deep into Board Game Geek for good thematic pirate games. It's a weird one because the core mechanism is deck building, and the cards in your deck have effectively combat symbols on them, and the tokens that represent ships that you can attack have symbols on them. So you have to play cards to equal or exceed the tokens that you're trying to attack in order to beat them to gain rewards. So it's actually fairly mechanically crunchy, but it's also got a lot of like bells and whistles in it that make it a truly thematic experience as well. I guess one of these hybrid games would be the best way to categorize it. It's not wholly mechanical, but it's not wholly thematic either. I was not able to find the game through one of my distributors, sadly, tragically, but you can buy it on Amazon.com straight from the publisher. I think they've still got a couple copies left from their Kickstarter campaign. We played it twice, and we played it co-op once and failed miserably, and when we played competitive once, and Ken won by a solid 10 points. Orshrat goes up to 60, and he won at like 23 or something like that, or maybe it was 33. So I think we're missing something in terms of how to ramp up and take on the bigger threats.
One of my biggest design things is for the normal play of a game, if you can lap the scoreboard, I think personally the scoring is incorrect.
Interesting.
Lords of Waterdeep is one of them.
The game comes with components that allow you to loop the scoreboard. They don't come with components that allow you to loop the scoreboard twice, which I have seen happen once.
I've done that. Champions of Midgard, Blood Rage, you always lap it.
Two-player Concordia can easily break 100.
I'd rather see them half the points and make it so it's really hard to get to the top. My point is the scoring track, I like it to be a gauge of the highest general level you could ever get.
Like if the track goes from 0 to 100, you want 100 to be a really good game.
Yes.
Like you want the game to communicate to you that you did really well that play.
Not that I lapped it 3 times and I'm like, I guess the third time is the charm.
Yeah, I can see that. The first time I played a game was like, is that a good score? I don't know.
What were your scores in Zolkin? I'll tell you what I always score in the game after, but I want to hear what you saw in your play.
I don't actually remember the score, but I know no one lapped the board.
Yeah, no, I've never lapped the scoreboard. The vast majority of my Zolkin plays, I have ended the game at exactly 55 points. If I end up at less than 55 points, I have tried to do something that has failed. Twice, I have gotten exactly 75 points.
Sulkin, I was thinking, was a good example of a game that has the scoring track correct. Terraforming Mars is another one that has the scoring track correct.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone break 100 points on Terraforming Mars. I think I hit 90 once, barely.
Any of the games like Blood Rage or Champions of Midgard where you just lap the board repeatedly, they could have just changed the point scoring to not have that happen. There's something to be said about like, I lap the board, but if you do it every game, it's just sort of like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what my high score should be. I've had games of Lords of Waterdeep where we lapped the board twice.
I've seen that happen once.
Just cut the points down, half them, quarter them.
Whatever needs to be done in order to make the scale correct.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of game designs, there's a certain amount of balance between actions that you do and the victory points that are handed out, cost versus rewards. And I think for some games, the designer tried to increase or decrease the number of points that things were giving out, but that just requires them to redo the math on all their cards, for example.
It's really hard to gauge that 40 points is good or not when you can lap the board twice. Because you're like, well, is that really worth it? Because I could just do 800 small quests and just go crazy.
Yeah, bigger problem with that is if you lap a player, that can make a really negative feeling.
Lords of Waterdeep, that happens all the time. Blood Rage, you lap players more often than any other game.
It's not entirely satisfying when, okay, I know I win. Now my next goal is just to see who I can lap. And it's really frustrating for the people you're lapping.
I love Blood Rage. It's a super awesome game. But Blood Rage is a game that you almost can't play against experienced players. If I play against someone that never played Blood Rage, I make sure that I do a balanced strategy, or I'll purposely not max out my Loki strategy or Tyree strategy or any of the single god strategies that just go nuts. I try not to get all the combos that I need to have just to go crazy.
That can be said about a lot of Euros. Like, if you are really experienced, you're generally going to want to go easy on somebody you're teaching.
Some of them aren't as bad as Blood Rage. Is literally like if you do not draft hate properly, you just gave someone the win. Same issue with Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, if you don't play optimally and you play against someone who's played a lot, you can't beat them. They'll also get mad at you, too, if you pick the wrong role. I don't know, Dan, what do you think? Does this not bother you as much as it bothers me?
I can't think off the top of my head any instance where I've been lapped or I have lapped someone else. Sometimes the track is just an even number to make the counting easier. If the track goes 0 to 100 and say average score is 110 to 125, then that's fine.
Yeah, I do appreciate Lords of Waterdeep and Castles of Burgundy. They already know that you're going to lap the board, so they give you a little chip.
Yeah, that indicate that you're plus 50 or whatever.
Blood Rage doesn't do that. You're going to lap the board, but you don't stack things on top of each other or know that you lapped the board other than you lapped it. I do like that other games have that if they're going to not keep that as the high score. I think you would like Blood Rage, though, a lot.
One time I managed to play it with you, by the way. It was fine. I think I came in third out of a group of 5, so I did okay. I held my weight.
It is a fun game. Greatest games I ever played are against people that played it a ton. It's just one of those games that is fun, and then it's really good when you get the hyper-competitive ones. So everyone knows exactly what they're doing. Everyone's played it a lot. It's one of the games that just super shines at that point.
So Frosthaven doesn't go on Kickstarter until March.
Yeah, and it's already up on BGG.
Probably has ratings, too.
Probably. I didn't look that close at it. Wait a second. It has 15 ratings and 8 comments, which is not enough for BGG to recognize that it is a thing yet.
They shouldn't allow their ratings until it's released.
Some people rate games to be like, oh, I need to take a look at this later.
Is the game even finished being made? We just announced that it's coming.
Yeah, the funny thing is all the images are for people that 3D printed stuff. The game that doesn't even exist.
I'm noticing that as well. There's 17 images on the page, and it's all like these clear, transparent plastic bits. Are they in the creative directory or are they in the game directory? I can't tell. Wait a second. Okay, no, the only thing in the game directory is the box front. Everything else is in the creative directory.
Those may or may not have anything to do with the game whatsoever.
Yeah, just someone just decided, hey, this game was just announced. I'm going to make bits for it. See if I can sell bits for the game that's not even out yet.
So one of the things I wanted to bring up was Asmodee's return policy. Thought it was a little weird, and it actually seems to be geared in a way that only like online retailers and big box stores can handle. And their new return policy is they will not get you replacement parts anymore. What they're going to do instead is that you have to return your game to the place you bought it. So whether that is a local hobby shop or Amazon, that retailer has to get a new copy of the game from Asmodee to replace it. Big stores like Amazon don't care. They'll immediately replace your game. But the little hobby stores that can't really afford to have a stock of like a ton of the same game on their shelves is really going to hurt, because as a consumer, it's very frustrating if you buy a game and it's missing a couple pieces and you have to take it back to the store you bought it, and that store doesn't have a copy to immediately replace it with, and you have to wait to get it in. What do you think about that, Dan?
The policy is potentially even worse than you're framing it as. Because I took a look at the FAQ file, and it's like Asmodee is completely divesting itself of any responsibility. Because they're just saying, hey, if you have a problem with one of your games, you have to take it to the store that sold it to you, and you are bound by their return policy, whatever that return policy is. So, like, even if you bought it like at a Target, Target's probably not going to give you another copy of the game. They're probably just going to give you your money back, and then you're going to be left without a game.
Or store credit. So if they have it in stock, you'd probably get it. Basically, what it's going to end up doing is like you're going to buy it from Amazon or not get it anywhere.
Or big stores like Target, yeah, they'll likely have stock for all the games, so you have a chance of releasing it. But, you know, the smaller local stores that usually only buy 1-2 copies of a game, they're not going to have a replacement copy on hand, so you're just going to have to wait however long it takes, if they even would take it.
And Target really doesn't sell that many hobby games. I like to support the local game store, and I probably still will, but I think that the program is going to disincentivize the majority of people from getting it from their local game store, which is bad, because that's the place you can play the game at. That's the place that actually has the community. Amazon doesn't have a community. They just have a shipping facility.
Well, full disclosure, New Dimension Comics, despite the fact that it has 6 stores, has a standing no returns, no exchanges policy. We make some exceptions to that, especially around the holiday season, for example. And that may change down the road as we continue to evolve. But for now, that's where we're at.
It's really in the ability for the company to afford that sort of loss. With the smaller companies, it's really hard to gauge your bottom line when you can take returns, because you can't accurately say I made X sales. You have to say I made X sales potentially. If you have that return policy, you can get into a lot of trouble absorbing all that money back, because a lot of times when people return stuff, it's not resellable.
Yeah, because they've already cracked the shrink, and at that point, it's no longer new, right?
Yeah. And you don't know the quality of the game at that point. So it's really hard.
Most games, I do inventory the bits to make sure I've gotten what I was supposed to get, right? If I've inventoried the bits,
Right.
I've opened up baggies, potentially punched things out of boards even. Yeah, at that point, it's totally not new.
In addition, that also is reason why like you can buy used games, because they go through that process. But when you have a return, there's no guarantee there's not missing pieces. And then what are you going to do with it? You can't get missing pieces from Asmodee, so.
And if local store doesn't want to take returns, you can't even really resell it if it's if it's a minor thing, you might be, but I wouldn't resell anything like missing components.
No, I was going to say, Asmodee's policy is verbatim. You have to return to the store. If you can't, you're out of luck. Period.
Like Nathan said, what do you do with a game that is defective that you can't do anything else with it? Like the normal avenues of, selling it secondhand, trading it for something else, or I don't even know what the other options could be. But yeah, it's all crossed off, right?
You don't have any honest options. You can't trade it because it's missing parts or something's broken. You can't sell it on eBay because it's missing parts or something's broken. You could take the components out and bling some of the component value of some of your other games, but maybe not. Really, it's just throw it away.
Yeah, it's dumpster fodder at that point.
Yeah. Which makes me leery, because Asmodee owns a lot of companies, and one of my favorite companies, they own Fantasy Flight. And out of the companies that I've had to get replacement parts for, which is very infrequent, Fantasy Flight is probably the most of having to get like individual pieces from them. I had to get it for X-Wing, I had to get it for Rune Wars, which I gave to Nathan, for Twilight Imperium, and several other games. And in the past, they just shipped them to me. No questions.
That's interesting to know. Fantasy Flight games are highly produced. They've always got a lot of bits in the boxes.
Yeah.
Like when you've got like 300 possible bits in the box, maybe you miss one or two compared to the, 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever.
Yeah, and with the replacement parts, I never cared because they send it actually within a couple days. So who cares? Now I care a little more.
And Fantasy Flight games aren't cheap generally. Okay, with a little card game, if something's an issue, that's not a huge deal. But with a $100+ game, if you have something that breaks the game that's missing or not working, that would really put me off of ever buying from them again.
Well, I had Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I was missing one of the war songs.
Whoa.
And they had 6 misprinted cards. It's 1 card, 6 colors. And I luckily emailed them the day before they changed their policy. So they shipped it to me. Otherwise, I'd have to beg NBC to contact Asmodee to see if they can get me a copy and wait for the new copy.
I would imagine most of the stores are going to be forced to change and have a return policy. Otherwise, people are going to stop buying.
The problem is I don't know that that's affordable for most. They could contact Asmodee on behalf of the customer and then try to get the copy. But even Asmodee says if the quantities aren't available, they're not going to give them a copy. So I don't know. They could just try. In the end, it's Asmodee that had a damaged product. It's Asmodee that produced the game that has the issue. So it's Asmodee that should fix it.
Mm-hmm. But the people are going to be angry at the store, not Asmodee.
Yeah, that's just the problem. I mean, it's going to hurt those local game stores just in the fact of, by proxy, someone spent $100 on a game and now they can't play it and now they can't get parts.
You know, I remember reading, I don't remember which company it was, but it was a company that makes games and they're distributed by Asmodee. So the question was posed, how does Asmodee's policy affect this game? The studio that developed the game announced that they would be sending out replacement parts. So there's a possibility that there's a backdoor for some of the things that are underneath their giant umbrella.
So I think it only applies to their main brands that are 100% theirs under publishing. Plaid Hat Games actually broke away from Asmodee recently.
Yeah.
Mice and Mystics and the big name titles are staying with Asmodee and they're going to go under Z-Man. But Plaid Hat Games is still going to distribute through Asmodee, and I bet they have a replacement policy. They're a small publisher breaking away. I don't know that a small publisher could afford sending a whole brand new game if you're missing one piece or one card is cut wrong. That's insane.
Yeah, wait and see how strict they really are on the policy, I think. I imagine there'll be some wiggle room, things that they'll let go, and they'll actually send things, but rather than sending the whole game.
Asmodee cites that it's an industrial standard, which is probably true, but not in the hobby board game market.
Right.
In the rest of retail, sure.
Yeah, because with a computer or mostly electronics, if there's one thing that's wrong, there's a good chance there's something else wrong. So it's safer to replace the whole thing rather than send a part, have that fixed, and then, if there's another problem, have that fixed, and just keep going back and forth.
Well, logistically, it allows them to be lazy. The person that gets that end of the stick is the retailer. So they just took all that responsibility and dumped it on the retailers and be like, you take care of it. Let them bother you.
Yeah.
We don't want them calling us or emailing us. We don't have staff for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. The takeaway that I got from their FAQ was that, hey, this is the retailer's responsibility, whoever that retailer is, to get the replacement game. By the way, for us small local game stores like NDC, we have to go through our distributor to get the replacement game. I have not contacted my distributor and asked the question of, how does this work? Do we have to send them the defective copy? Are they willing to take our word for it? Do I pay anything for the replacement copy? These are questions that I don't have answers to. And I hope not to, because I hope not to have to ask the questions. James, you walked away.
He's so aggravated he had to get up and leave. Possibly. I know New Dimension's not the only one that's upset by this or having issues with this. I was just sitting having dinner with the local game store owner from my area, and Asmodee's new policy came up. The conversation ended right then. Didn't want to talk about it, move on.
Yeah, when you're responsible for running a business or a piece of a business even, you got more important things to worry about 98% of the time. Ah, he's back.
I'm here again.
Are we done with this frustrating topic?
Yeah, it's a bad topic, but
we all managed to vent a little bit, so I feel vented.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed our new mini-episode format. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. And don't forget to like, follow, and or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild, LLC. All rights reserved.